What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing a 2024 NFL mock draft post Stephon Diggs trade. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. Below that is a great way to get involved with all of the other good links in the community, as well as take advantage of our two sponsors, Olipop, as well as UnderDog Fantasy. As you can see, I'm all kind of dressed up because I am doing this in the middle of my lunch at work. So we're going to be doing this a little bit quicker than my standard in-depth mock drafts. Feel free to go check out my most recent mock draft with Brett Coleman that dropped yesterday. Technically, it still kind of applies to what we're doing today, but we're still going to have a good time. So we will be doing a live trade-up with the Vikings, of course. But let's get right into this. Chicago Bears are going to be taking Caleb Williams. There's no reason to labor over that idea. It is what it is. But at pick number 2, this is where the real conversation begins. Looking at Cliff Kingsbury's system, and a system that, I think they are actually going to try to target Jaden Daniels here. They're just looking for more of that instant impact. I'm really hoping that they can end up boosting that offensive line because I just don't trust it. I personally would take the longer shot on Drake May, but Jaden Daniels is actually a really talented quarterback, and he has that escapability. He fits Cliff Kingsbury. I'm going to go on the side of realism here. Even though Jaden is my number 2 quarterback, I just don't trust the offensive line situation there for Washington. At pick number 3 for the New England Patriots, I think this is going to be an easy one for Drake May here. There are rumors that technically this could be J.J. McCarthy. That's interesting. But, there was actually a much better in-depth discussion about the difference between the two over on my most recent mock draft with Brett Coleman, because he actually had JT O'Sullivan, the QB school, on, and he ended up talking about that conversation there. But Drake May will be going to the New England Patriots. I think they have good enough job security. At pick number 4, the Cardinals have been rumored to love Joe Alt. I know it pissed off a lot of people, but I don't think people understand that this is coming from a sense of realism and not a sense of what we would necessarily do. They do have Jonah Williams. I think that they're fine at tackle for the short term. But, I personally will go Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think I'm still going to go that route in this. But they do really like Joe Alt. I just don't know if they would like him as much as Marvin Harrison Jr. So we'll see about that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the selection there. I'm going to stick and pick. At pick number 5, the Chargers are going to be the team that potentially trades out. Wide receiver is a big position for them to target, but this is a very deep receiving class, and honestly, you're not going to be getting Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know. Malik Neighbors certainly is a great target to have, but when you can have multiple first-round picks, and you are a brand new coach, I think that's just the smartest thing to do. So the Vikings are going to be trading 11 and 23 to move up to 5. You can calculate any quarterback tax that you want, but not really a need to at the moment. J.J. McCarthy will be the 5th overall selection. So surprise, surprise, the top 5 goes the way that kind of usually goes. At pick number 6, this is where things get fun with the New York Giants. I've had them trade back before. And, certain teams move up for Joe Alt, some teams move up for Malik Neighbors, but I think in this situation, we could easily see them going after Rome Odunze here. He does fit a little bit better with the longer-term vision than Malik Neighbors does, and maybe that is a reason to trade down. But I do believe that, either way you go about it, you're going to be getting a great player. I'm going to hope that New York goes best player available rather than just going after the player that they think complements them the best. We're going to go Malik Neighbors here. That, of course, leaves Joe Alt to be going at pick number 7. It's a pretty fair, it's an easy shoe-in selection at this point. Joe Alt's a fantastic player, and it's just a great opportunity for him to be able to, complete that offensive line, or at least complete one side of it with Peter Skoronski. Protecting your quarterback is probably one of the best ways to show a return on investment in the long run. So we're going to be doing that there. At pick number 8 for the Atlanta Falcons, people got pissed that I went Terry and Arnold last time, especially because we did have a great receiver, Malik Neighbors, on the board. Totally understandable, but I also use these mock drafts as opportunities to test out new theories because we are 99% of the time wrong. So whether you love a pick or not, doesn't mean it's going to be realistic, and it is very possible that corner could be something the Falcons value that highly. I do think this is a potential trade out spot because you could trade out and still get a top tier edge rusher, get some extra value as well. Given that Rome Odunze is on the board, I think a great team to trade up is the Los Angeles Chargers. It's a great way to get that extra first round pick, and I think this will cost essentially a third. So the Chargers end up, maybe losing out on Malik Neighbors, but Rome Odunze technically does fit them slightly better. And, I think it's fine. We're ending up giving up pick 69, which is very nice. I mean, maybe you have to toss in pick 110, maybe pick 140. Like, we'll just do that for the Falcons' sake. But essentially what you're doing is getting a nice little move up, again, to select Rome Odunze. You're getting good draft capital. You're getting essentially an extra first to be able to get another player who is still going to boost your receiving core and is it's a very, very big impact. Now, the Bears, this was a spot where I wanted to trade out with a team that wanted to move up for Rome initially when I was starting this mock draft, but that is no longer the case. You got Brock Bowers here. You got the top corners here. You got pretty much all the offensive linemen here as well. I do think that the edge rushing crew could certainly entice some teams to move up, but I just doubt at this moment that there's anybody worth like moving back for at this point. There's just nobody worth moving up for. Like, you see my board. I love Terran Arnold and Dallas Turner, but you still don't need to spend that much draft capital to move up because that's an expensive ass trade regardless of who's moving up. It's an expensive trade. So I don't think the Bears are going to be lucky on this one. They miss out on their wide receiver. You could move back and get Brian Thomas, but again, who is moving up is the bigger question. So we're going to be going after an edge rusher here. Latu's awesome. He's going to be a day one impact. If you want to do a championship run, this is probably the guy to do it. But if you want to be able to have a better franchise in the long run, I do suggest going after Dallas Turner. 4.47 speed. He is someone who still needs a little bit of tweaking, but Montez Sweat, great mentor. At pick 10 for the New York Jets, I think this pick will be traded. I personally believe that we do have some elite weapons on the board. I also do think that we have some elite corners on the board, and the Jets are exploring moving back, so I don't think it's going to be super expensive. We do have some top tier offensive linemen on the board, so I could see a team like the Cowboys trying to move up for their star offensive tackle, a team like the Bengals trying to get their selection at tackle as well. But you can also see a team like the Colts trying to move up and select their guy as well, or even the Jaguars. And there's certain teams that I think should be at least in the conversation of a move up here. Again, I just think it's way too damn expensive. It is very, very pricey to move up into the top 10, especially if you're at this range. So I think that, you're going to try your best, but you are going to end up not really getting exactly what you're looking for. Instead, I think the Jets should be going after an offensive lineman here in Olu Fashanu. People are shitting on him. I think it's extremely unwarranted. That's called prospect fatigue. You watch him play. He is a fantastic player. I do think he's better than Troy Fautanu, and I think he's actually better than Tali Fuaga, if Tali's a pure tackle. So, y'all know my love for Tali Fuaga. I think Tali Fuaga could be a Hall of Fame guard, but Olu Fashanu is the future at offensive tackle. Also, one of the tackles are going to be hurt, so you do need to have a contingency plan there. You might say, oh, let's just go and pick up a veteran swing tackle. Do you want a veteran swing tackle to be your starting tackle in the playoffs? Fuck no. Hate to say it, hate to be blunt, but that'd be very poor asset management in my opinion. At pick number 11, though, we got the Falcons, and still got some great choices here. Could go after those corners again, but I am going to opt for an edge rusher here. Don't know why it selected defense interior as well, but we ball. It's Latu and Verse that are available. I think both are uniquely talented on their own. I think Verse might be a little bit better, though. Latu still has that lower body strength issue as well as having short arms. Verse is essentially the complete package. He just has some injury concerns, and then he finally found his weight, but he was having big weight fluctuations. At pick 12, we got the Broncos. This is another team that should be trading back. And, the only reason why I pause and say, like, maybe they do take a quarterback here is because if the NFL loves Bo Nix, which I think the media is giving Bo Nix too hard of a time, then the Raiders very well might be in the market for it, and the Broncos could say, I don't want to face Bo Nix. I just think the talent is so good on the board, it's impossible for the Raiders to truly go Bo Nix over one of these studded players. So I am going to be moving back, and I moved back with the Jaguars before, but I think the Broncos would be very, very smart to be looking at a team that, I'm looking at the Colts here. I'm looking at the Jaguars. I know those two receivers are going to be potentially coming off the board very, very soon. And I might even say that the Saints could be one of these contenders. We could see Buffalo getting aggressive here. So they haven't technically done this freaking trade yet. So, screw PFF for not actually factoring in the picks that were sent over. It's not going to affect this mock draft. I'll tell you that. But I do believe that it is a smart move by Buffalo to secure one of the top weapons. I mean, you could certainly wait, but at 15, I could see it happening. At 14, I could see it happening. This team does not have a wide receiver one. Now, you could say it's a deep class. You can wait. But I think the Broncos actually might take a little bit of a discounted deal. You might end up getting like a future third out of this. But the Bills have $30 million dead cap that they just ate. Maybe we'll toss that in there just for funsies. But they just ate $30 million dead cap. They don't have flexibility to bring on veterans, especially in that receiving core where I think they could use it. Broncos, this is a great idea to move back and end up, still getting some really damn good value. But the Bills move up and select Brian Thomas Jr., an elite, high potential wide receiver out of LSU, 4.3 speed, great build. He is the exact weapon that Josh Allen can utilize. At pick 13 for the Las Vegas Raiders, I'm going to be going Quinion Mitchell here. I think he's phenomenal. Offensive line certainly in the mix, but this is a pretty deep, in quotes, offensive line class, so I think that is perfectly fine. Now, the New Orleans Saints, I would have been in the market for Brian Thomas Jr. here. I think they should be going after a tackle, and I personally trust the tackle value there at pick 18 and beyond. So I want to look at a team that could be moving up for a top-tier corner, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles definitely need to target either a starting quality edge rusher, which they technically could go Latu at this pick, or I think actually this is a little bit too pricey. We might end up getting 53 and then getting like 168 in return. But Philadelphia has to move up to be able to get something of starting quality. And you could even go Brock Bowers here. But essentially this is going to be the trade. It is only one round, so it's not necessarily going to affect the mock draft. Feel free to play with the variables yourselves. But it's down to Latu as not interior offensive line. Hell no. It's going to be essentially down to Latu as well as our corner here in Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold, he can play slot right away. I think that he is 10 times the corner that he's 10 times the corner of any corner on the roster. We might have 7, but I'd be willing to get rid of 6 of them just to bring on Terrion Arnold if I had to. Terrion Arnold's a special player. He's honestly cerebral in his processing. I think that's awesome, and this team does need it. So we're going to be going Terrion Arnold here. Again, I've made my case for going after edge rusher, but that's too expensive to move up just for an edge rusher that I would probably just sit and pick at 20 if I could see him falling, which I don't know if I could see him falling. But at pick 15 for the Indianapolis Colts, this ends up pushing my agenda for Brock Bowers to Indy because Terrion Arnold is my dream pick for them. Brock Bowers is just a super weapon, so go after the super weapon. At pick number 16 for the Seattle Seahawks, again, we already moved up with the Bills. That was a nasty trade that, maybe you could toss in some more draft capital if you want to. But essentially, Buffalo needs to get aggressive because I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing shit. But at pick 16, Seattle should be in the market to move back as well. There's top-tier offensive linemen here, and I do think a team like the Dallas Cowboys certainly could be in the market for a move up to 16. I also do believe that there should be some teams that need a wide receiver 1 that want to move up and get their wide receiver 1. That being said, I do think that the Dallas Cowboys could get a little bit more ballsy here because of the fact that they have a massive hole on their offensive line. And I think this is going to be similar trade compensation to that jump up to pick number 12, but maybe actually the Cowboys get something back in return rather than sending something to the Seahawks. We'll just leave it as is, though. Feel free to tweak the figures however you like. we're getting it through for the mock draft sake. We're going to be going Troy Fautanu here because he can play left tackle if you don't want Tyler Smith to play left tackle, or he can play elite left guard. Brett was trying to get the Cowboys to move up to 12. That was a little bit too pricey. I think 16 is perfectly fine. Seattle gets their pick, and the Cowboys get their star offensive lineman for the next decade. At pick 17 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to be opting for the wide receiver here. The corner value is not good enough, and A.D. Mitchell is awesome. So people are just shitting on A.D. Mitchell for no reason if he is going to be selected here at pick 17. At pick 18 for the Cincinnati Bengals, Tali Fuaga might be the best move that you can make here. Either way, he's going to upgrade your offensive line. I do have J.C. Latham slightly above him as an offensive tackle, but Tali Fuaga as an offensive lineman is far superior, and you do have Trent Brown there for a year to be able to mentor him. At pick 19, you have the Los Angeles Rams. And Laiatu Latu is probably going to be my pick. Might be Byron Murphy. I would love to see how that would end up working out. But this edge rusher class, you do need an edge number 2, and defensive interior is in pretty good hands with Kobe Turner. I'm going to be going Laiatu Latu out of UCLA. At pick number 20, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers, and some good players have fallen to us right here. Amarius Mims as well as J.C. Latham. I think J.C. Latham's ready to start day one a little bit more than Amarius Mims. So I'm going after J.C. Also, his run blocking is ridiculous. I love Amarius Mims, but there's a lot to work with his feet, etc. And I don't trust the mentorship of two guys in Broderick Jones, who's super young, and Dan Moore, who's just not that good. I like to have not just an offensive line coach, but to have actual offensive linemen that show true development. J.C. Latham's going to be a great addition to this team. At pick 21 for the Miami Dolphins, I love the idea of Byron Murphy to this team. He is explosive. He is fun. Technically, Jerzon Newton is looked at as a superior product for Miami specifically. However, I don't know if I can let a real star player like Graham Barton, who can play multiple positions, slip from this spot. So we could end up trying to trade back, looking at the options that would be moved up for, Byron Murphy being one of them. Kool-Aid, top tier corner right there. There's honestly nothing that is jaw-dropping except maybe Amarius Mims. A team that is looking for a right tackle. I could totally see the Chargers getting a little bit excited to be able to move up. It would only cost a 4th round pick at max to move up those spots. And honestly, I think the Dolphins could use that little bit extra draft capital. I don't know if I could see Amarius Mims slipping past the Saints there. So the Chargers end up sending pick 110 to move up to pick 110 to move up to 21. Maybe they end up getting the round 5 from Denver in return, but again, not going to affect this mock draft. And so they go Amarius Mims. So you end up getting Rome Odunze, Amarius Mims. I call that a hashtag win. Pick number 22, the Saints just kind of got screwed out of the top offensive tackle talent. And I honestly think that's okay. There's actually some really good tackles in this class. And I don't think this is a reason to have to pull the trigger on somebody that you do not want. I could see yourselves trading back again, but the defensive line needs help. At the very minimum, get best player available. You ended up getting some good draft capital by moving back. Now you get Byron Murphy as well. Don't reach on an offensive lineman because that's exactly what you did in the first place, and it's why you're in the position you are. At pick 23, we got the Miami Dolphins back on the board. Talked about it before. We're going Graham Barton out of Duke. Super versatile offensive lineman who's played center and guard and tackle. That's going to be a very valuable asset there for Miami. At pick 24, Graham Barton would have been probably one of the best picks there for the Dolphins, but I think that Jackson Powers Johnson does almost just as good of a job there for the Seahawks. If you're really butthurt about it, Dolphins fans, you can switch it with the Seahawks. How about that? Pick 25 for the Green Bay Packers, Cooper DeJean. I mean, if he's here, it just makes total sense. The versatility is ridiculous. So you can actually put him next to Xavier McKinney. That'd be badass. You can have him flex with Keyshawn Nixon there, and then you can also play him on the boundary. At pick 26 for the Buccaneers, looking at the value available, Jerzon Newton is incredible, but you already got that first-round defensive interior. Zion McCollum's awesome, but, Kool-Aid McKinstry is a significant upgrade in my opinion. So we're going to stick and pick with Kool-Aid McKinstry. leaving the Arizona Cardinals, who have drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., to go after Johnny Jerzon Newton, because that defensive interior needs a lot of help. At pick 28, the Broncos have moved back and then get to select their quarterback in Bo Nix. Surprise, surprise. I don't think Bo Nix can go as high as it did in my mock with Brett, but I think this is going to be one of the best opportunities for them to get extra capital and still get the guy that they should have gotten there at their 13th pick. At pick 29 for the Detroit Lions, you can totally see them looking at offensive line here, but, edge rusher as well, certainly on the board. I'm going to piss off some people here, but I love the work ethic and the locality of Marshawn Kneeland. He is known as a guaranteed second-round pick, which means teams that have late second-round picks very well might get interested in going after a Western Michigan product when the draft is in Detroit. Similar to what happened last year with a Kansas State player going when Kansas City was in the first. Just saying. Marshawn Kneeland's going to be the dark horse pick. We always see these guys slip into here. Friend of the show, had an interview with him last week. Feel free to check that out. At pick 30 for the Ravens, got Nate Wiggins and Tyler Guyton here. Offensive line I feel is a little bit more paramount for the Ravens, but that corner core should use a little bit more infusion of youth. I'm going to trust the starting potential of Tyler Guyton over Nate Wiggins because Daniel Filele is not somebody who I want on my team starting. Pick number 31 for the Niners. Offensive line and corner, the positions to target. Jordan Morgan actually wouldn't be a bad choice here, but personally, I would actually just wait and draft Blake Fisher in round 2 and go after Nate Wiggins here because Nate Wiggins is awesome. And ending off the draft, we got the Kansas City Chiefs. I do see a really good wide receiver here in Keon Coleman, Xavier Leggett as well. We ended up seeing them slip a little bit, but Xavier Leggett, he's a little bit older, limited production. Keon Coleman's awesome. I think that Carolina would be happy sticking and picking at 33. And you actually could see this be a trade because I don't know if Kansas City is going to be in the move for Keon Coleman. But to be fair, I think they could be in the mood for Xavier Leggett. So Xavier Leggett ends up going there at pick number 32. So that's the draft. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all. See you on the far side. Peace.